Man, fall fishing can be so exciting. But when does it actually start? Because up until that point, the fishing can be pretty difficult. Well, the first thing we have to do as anglers is forget the calendar, okay? Because what we think is fall when we flip the pages on the calendar is often very, very different than what starts to happen in the water. And then the other thing I like to kind of put to the side is water temperature. The longer I've been fishing, the more experience I get, I really think that the amount of daylight is a more important factor than water temperature. Now, yes, they go hand in hand because obviously if the sun's out longer, the water is going to warm up. If the sun's not out as long, the water is going to cool down. But I've just seen too many instances when water temperature is way out of whack for what it should be at that particular time of year, but the fish's behavior is what it should be based on the amount of daylight. So anyway, be thinking about that amount of daylight, that when those days get noticeably shorter, that's when I start really looking for a few key characteristics, because up to this point, the fish could be way offshore and they could be really deep and really suspended. But when you start to see bait, okay, and by bait we're usually talking shad, or on my lake lots of minnows, all right, when you start to see that bait, one, either start to move up shallower or those bass are starting to chase it around the lake, that in my opinion is when you've got a full-blown fall fishing bite. Now if you've got some great electronics, you can see those bait balls out there, those big schools of shad out there. Are they starting to move up shallower? Are they not as deep as they were? So even if you're not seeing action up there on the surface or along the shoreline, if you start to see those bait balls coming up, you can expect that fall bite to start. The other thing that I like to do once I notice that happening is I have to change my mindset that those fish, those feeding fish, could be anywhere. I've caught them just out in the middle of the lake. I will see them busting up those bait fish out there. So you kind of got to break away that approach of always against the shoreline or up close to shore. Be scanning everywhere. Check with those electronics everywhere. Always be on the lookout, and you could just find an amazing school of fish busting up on bait. And the other thing that I like to do is a lot of times in the fall the rain has really slowed down. But if I can find places, okay, in the backs of coves, backs of creek arms, where there's some fresh water coming in, I have found that can just really kick in a tremendous fall bite as well. That bait will move into there, and then of course the predators will move in there as well. Now there are several lures that I really like to use when that fall fishing kicks in. Pretty much all of them are horizontal presentations. Your soft jerk baits, okay, just love it. Square bill crankbaits, spinner baits, topwaters, all of those things that can cover water, and all your traditional bait fish imitators are going to be really great choices. Oh, and I don't want to forget the suspending jerkbait. Might just be right up there at the top of my fall lure list as well. And hey, speaking of soft jerkbaits, if you want to watch a video on this little tip, okay, this little thing that you can do to a falling jerkbait that I really think triggers that feeding instinct, go ahead and check this one out right here. And make sure that you go out and encourage someone today. You never know how you might just change their life. For the Bass Fishing Life, I'm your host, Steve Rogers.